Managing a home is one thing, but once you start adding in a homestead and homeschooling, all of a sudden you feel like you're drowning and you can't keep your head above water. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through all the ways I save myself time and create efficiency on our homestead. Welcome back to Pasture Pioneers. Here on our channel, we discuss small acre homesteading, from raising sheep, chickens, and pigs to preserving the harvest and preparing food from scratch. Hit that subscribe button and let's get started. We are deep in spring season here. So we have our meat chicks have arrived, we are getting things out into the garden, and we're wrapping up our school year all at once. So over the last few years, I've really had to refine a lot of my systems in the kitchen to make it easier as our family grew, how much we were eating increased, and also as our homesteads increased. Every year we've added something else. Our garden's gotten bigger. So in the times of preserving or getting things out to the garden, it's a busy time of year. The key thing I have learned in all that is that you have to plan ahead. And I know so many of you are gonna balk at that. You're gonna say, well, I'm not a planner. I get it, but if you really want to be successful in your home and provide that nutritious food for your family, you're gonna have to buckle in and at least plan a couple days at a time. Even if it's today and tomorrow, it'll give you a head start and your wheels will start turning. Can only imagine that few of us are working in an ideal kitchen space. A lot of times we just make do with what we have because it's what we have. And often as homesteaders, we'd rather put that money somewhere else rather than into the kitchen. But after 5 years, I am getting a new kitchen. So we're gonna be making a video on that, so stay tuned. This whole kitchen's going to be remade and I will finally get rid of that stupid orange. Especially if planning ahead doesn't come naturally to you, let me just encourage you to look at it in a different light. Look at it as blessing your future self. So here, the way our home functions is we have to have a breakfast. My husband has high metabolism. I have some growing boys. Like, everyone's starving in the morning. And as much as my lazy, non-morning person self would love to say, fend for yourself, I do go out of my way to make sure we have some kind of breakfast. But it's been a thorn in my side. And so one day I finally got curious and I asked myself, what can I do to make this easier? And the solution came to me of prepping the night before, planning our breakfasts ahead of time. So what I do is I set aside time at the beginning of my week to map out what our meals are going to look like for the whole week. Sometimes if I really can't come up with anything towards the end of the week, I just let it be blank, and I normally have an idea on Monday or Tuesday that I'll fill it in then. But something as simple as making a double batch of muffins. And my family loves these muffins. They're the ones I've actually talked about before on my sourdough video, which I'll link above. And you can make a double batch of these and freeze half. It's that simple. You put the other half in the freezer. And then on a busier morning when maybe we have to get out the door kind of quickly, all I have to do is pull those out the night before and we have a quick breakfast. So just thinking about blessing yourself, there's never been a morning that I've prepped the breakfast the night before that I haven't been thankful I did. It's not always an easiest, obvious choice of like, well, of course I'm going to prep breakfast. Sometimes you're tired, you've homeschooled, you've been spending the day preserving. You have to force yourself off the couch and off your phone to prep that meal. It's not always an easy thing, but something I've always said is you're always saying yes to something. You're either saying yes and helping out your future self, or you're saying no and you're giving in to whatever you feel like doing at the time. You're not limited to just making breakfast ahead of time and freezing half. You could make an extra batch of bread and freeze it until you're ready to use it. Bread, there's meals, there's muffins, there's cookies. Like, it's really endless, the things you can freeze. It's just learning what will freeze well, what doesn't, and working within those limits. We've talked about this at length on our channel, but quality, clean food is a priority to our family. And it can be a little overwhelming when that means the majority of your cooking is done from scratch, which is where the planning ahead thing comes into play. But it's as simple as looking ahead at your schedule and seeing, oh, we have an appointment on this day. We need to make sure that breakfast is prepped the day before, that I have a crock pot meal ready to go in the crock pot. It's as simple as looking at your calendar and making the appropriate adjustments to your your schedule. But I mean, I've mentioned freezer meals, but something else you can also do is really leverage canning, especially if you don't have a huge homestead or maybe you're even in an apartment. Canning is something anyone can do with the right equipment, and it's usually equipment everyone has. A working stove, a pressure canner is all you need, and you can can soups, you can can meat, which are amazing to pull out on a busy night that maybe plans changed. I know we've had a couple nights in the span of our marriage, we've had a couple nights where stuff got changed, we come home, it's supper time, the kids are hungry, what are we going to do? And that is where I love to just go reach for a can of meat downstairs that I've canned myself. It's meat from our land, and it's easy to throw onto a salad, to mix with some barbecue sauce, a quick pizza. Things like that are a lifesaver to have on hand. So don't just limit yourself to the freezer. Canning works great too. So what my schedule looks like is typically it's Sunday night. I am sitting down with my planner. I'm looking at what we've got going this week, the things that I need to have food prepared for. You know, as a sourdough baker, if I want bread, I have to think it out and know at least 2 days in advance. So I try to think about when I'm gonna make bread that week. I think about the breakfast that I'm going to make. This also kind of ensures we don't get into too much of a rut. A lot of my family members really prefer variety. And so as much as I wish I could just make the same thing every day, it's not quite that simple. But I've adjusted to what my family likes and what they prefer. Something that also helped me at the beginning, as our family was still really young, is making a list of all the favorite meals of the family and then categorizing them by how easy and quick they were to whip together. Pinterest can be a really great resource to do this by just organizing your pins in such a way of, hey, this meal's ready in 30 minutes. This meal's a soup. This is a crock pot meal. I really love to go on my boards and just check those out and leverage them for my meal planning. The beauty of starting this and trying to take it more seriously and plan ahead is that with experience, you get better. You get faster at making your favorite recipes. You know exactly how much you need to have in the freezer. And if you approach it slowly, if you take the slower approach, which I recommend, and just start with maybe one meal that you're doubling and freezing a week, all of a sudden you're gonna wake up and realize you have quite the freezer stash. So what I'm working on here, I've got the blueberry muffins in the oven. We've got a really busy weekend ahead of us. And so part of the way I'm planning ahead here is these muffins are gonna serve as part of my family's breakfast in the morning, so my husband doesn't have to cook as much. We have tons of eggs right now, so he's probably gonna fry up some eggs to go with their blueberry muffins. They got some protein, they got the carbohydrates, and it'll just make a smoother morning for them. I'm heading out first thing in the morning, and I don't know when I'm gonna be coming home. And so part of our Saturday routine would involve me making our cinnamon rolls, but I'm not gonna be here. So I'm also about to roll these out, but the dough was refrigerated and it needs to warm up. I love this is a double batch of cinnamon rolls, and I love having an extra pan in my freezer for the weekends I don't have time to get these made. You could argue that I could just not make them, but there's something really special to our family. It's part of our family traditions. On every Sunday, we have cinnamon rolls before church. So part of me serving my family was planning ahead and realizing, okay, I can't make it Saturday, so I'm going to make them on Friday. And I'm gonna go ahead and bake these today. And I'm gonna freeze one pan, and I'm going to save the other pan in the fridge so it stays fresh for Sunday. Next weekend, I won't have time to make it either. So next weekend will just be a breeze. Once again, on Saturday, I'm gonna be gone most of the day, and I can just enjoy the fruit of my labor, and I will thank myself on both of these Sunday mornings that I did this today. Part of what makes these make ahead, like creating a habit out of planning ahead and prepping ahead, is that when the holidays do come back around towards the end of this year, you're gonna find a whole new world of freedom, realizing just what all you can make ahead of time and pop in the freezer. And it makes cookie making with your kids a treat instead of a chore. It just really changes the game all around. I think this last year I actually had our entire Christmas breakfast planned ahead of time and in the freezer. And that was the first time I didn't feel so stressed when it came to Christmas morning. You know, there's already so much going on. The last thing you want to think about is also having a breakfast prepared for a hungry crew who's also excited about presents, but also still hungry. And it just changes everything. It's a habit worth cultivating. We've talked a lot about practical things that you can do when you are meal planning and prepping, but I want to give you some actionable steps to make this really practical for you to get started right where you are. I suggest you start with 1 meal a week, doubling and putting half in your freezer to build up a freezer stash, and then moving on from there. As you build experience, you'll be able to maybe spend one day just making a bunch of crock-pot meals, or a day making a bunch of baked goods for the freezer. Really make this your own, make it fit your personality, but no, don't give up when it's hard to start with. The more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. So I want to leave you with that encouragement. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video, especially if you enjoy homesteading content, and we will see you next week.